Hello, everyone, and I hope you're all well. My name is Tanner Dagenais, and I'm the host of Self-Sabotage Solutions. On this podcast, it's my opportunity and my pleasure to be able to share everything I know about self-sabotage so that you can overcome self-sabotage in your life. And something that's so important in overcoming self-sabotage is making sure we're setting up our body for success and setting ourselves up for success. And part of making sure that we are setting up ourselves and our body up for success and our mind up for success is getting the proper amount of sleep. So, our sleep is so important. Whether we are not getting enough of sleep or we're getting too much of it, sleep is like one of the most integral parts of our health because, that is how we're actually able to repair our body. It's our sleep cycle. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. So, this whole podcast is going to be talking about sleep and why sleep is important, how it's commonly self-sabotaged, what we can do to get good sleep, and ways we can actually use sleep to overcome self-sabotage. So that'll be fun. Some cool techniques you can use at the end that can help you in addressing any self-sabotaging behaviors you may have. So make sure you listen to the end here and let me know what you think about it. So the first thing I want to talk about is why sleep is important and how much should we get of it, and just everything about kind of sleep, like the general basics. Well, like I said before, it's our body's way of naturally healing and processing. So when we're sleeping, it allows our body to put more of the energy towards the organs and towards everything else that may need attention, and it can focus that energy on just that. So we don't have to be moving around. We don't have to be using energy and opening our eyes. Usually we don't have energy with digesting food. It's our time for our body to be able to do what it needs to do while we're out and we're not using as much energy like we are throughout the day, right? So that's why it's so important that we get that, because if we're not able to get that sleep, then we're not able to fully heal like we need to. And another part of it is processing. So what do I mean by processing? Well, it's our mind essentially processing through all the things we saw that day. And it's usually the subconscious mind that is doing this, right? That's where a lot of these dreams come from. And if you've heard me talk about self-sabotage in one of my past podcasts, you've probably heard about the subconscious mind. If you haven't, let me just touch base on it really quick. So we have the conscious part of our mind, the part that is the logical part of our mind, the part that wants, has our dreams, our goals, our aspirations. It's logical thinking. It's able to think long term. We have the subconscious part of our mind. This part of our mind is kind of like the opposite. It doesn't have any dreams or goals in it. It is just like a record player. It's like a data storage device that is constantly scanning our environment and cataloging all that data into, essentially what is like the safest thing to do. So what's the thing that's going to help us fit in society the most? Because that's usually that's what we've learned over the years is the best way to survive is fitting in with other people. And, what is the best step to take so I don't get ridiculed in the society or don't get outcasted? So this part of your mind is constantly scanning your environment at like 11 million pieces of information per second compared to your conscious mind, which is only about 40 pieces of information per second. So it's a huge, vast difference. And that's because these parts of the minds have different goals, right? So your subconscious mind, like I said, is just constantly scanning the environment. It's not the logical part of your mind. It can't tell the difference between good or bad. And it is its main job is to try to keep us safe. And what it deems as safe is what is the most familiar. So this part of your mind while you're sleeping is in charge of, usually it gives us our dreams, right? Because it's processing what the information you went through. That's usually why your dreams will have to do with what you've done a lot of in the past few days. I know when I was playing video games a lot, I usually have dreams about those video games I was constantly playing, which makes total sense, right? Because my mind was trying to process that information. But sometimes it's very cryptic, and sometimes it doesn't make much sense as what like the dream's purpose was or what we were supposed to learn from it. And that's because, remember, this part of your mind is not very logical. It doesn't think the way that we do. So it's harder sometimes to piece that information together. So we need to get the sleep so our bodies can heal and our bodies can process like they're supposed to. The next thing we want to do is get at least 8 hours of deep sleep. What do I mean by deep sleep? Deep sleep is like when you're not being interrupted, when you are actually get into those deep REM cycles, because our there's natural cycles that we go through while we're in sleep, and we want to get into these deep REM cycles because that's where we get most of the healing and most of the processing done in those deep REM cycles. It's also usually where we have the most vivid dreams, right? So usually if you wake up and you're still tired, you didn't get enough sleep. Sometimes if you wake up and you're still tired, it might be that you overslept though, because if you sleep way too long, you can put your body into more of like a hibernating mode where you're more just kind of drowsy from sleeping so long, right? So usually what I recommend is between 8 to 10 hours of sleep, depending on what happened the night before or whatever's going on. Sometimes it's out of your control and you just do the best you can. Like I have a little one, 5 months old, and some nights, I don't get those full 8 hours of sleep that I want, but that's okay. I get to sleep and I get as much sleep as I possibly can. And also kind of want to touch about, like, if you're still waking up and you're still getting tired, it could also be your body and mind are just experiencing burnout. Like you're constantly going all the time, or maybe you're just drinking a ton of caffeine. We'll talk more about how caffeine can affect us, but caffeine can lead to being burnt out, and you end up starting to develop a reliance on the caffeine to be able to wake up, right? How often do we hear people say, "I'm not me without my morning coffee"? Oh, I haven't woken up yet without my morning coffee, blah, blah, blah. There's so many different statements like that. If you work in an office space, you're bound to hear that at least once or twice a day, right? I know I do. And so, yeah, so you could be experiencing that burnout, and that can happen from multiple things. The best way to get the best sleep is to follow the circadian rhythm. So, we want to wake up with the sun and go to bed with the sun. For many people, this does not seem like it'd be possible for them. So many people stay up till 12 or till 1 in the morning, but our bodies aren't really meant to do that. We're meant to go to bed with the sun and wake up with the sun, because there's our functions in our body, and we'll be talking about this some more here in a moment. It actually kind of leads me into what we're going to be talking about next, which is how we sabotage our sleep and what we can do to get good sleep. But what I'm talking about is that our brain and our function of our eyes actually work with the light to be able to make us more sleepy or more awake. So when the lights start to get dim and it starts to get darker out, usually our body will start producing melatonin, and this melatonin is supposed to help us get sleepy. And then if we have a lot of light in the place, we produce that serotonin. And that serotonin is supposed to help us wake up and get more aware, right? So things like sunglasses can mess with this. Things like bright lights, phone screens, computer screens, TV screens, right? All these things have really bright lights that can really affect our sleep. And any bright lights that you're in your room. So usually the best way to get a good night's sleep is to avoid any bright lights in your room while you're sleeping. Try to make it as dark as possible. Get curtains. Avoid turning on lights. The darker it is, the better you'll be able to sleep. So that's pretty important. And if you're able to at least avoid these bright lights for like an hour or two before bed, you'll notice a big difference in your body's ability to be able to get to sleep naturally. Something else I want to talk about with that is with the melatonin. There's drinks you can drink to enhance your melatonin production. So, for instance, I'm actually drinking some sweet tart cherry juice right here. So sweet tart cherries are actually very high in antioxidants, which doesn't help with the sleep as much. But what it does also have is the precursor for melatonin production. So when you drink this sweet tart cherry juice, it puts that precursor into your body, and then it helps actually increase your melatonin production after you drink it. So actually, I recommend drinking some sweet tart cherry juice, before you go to bed, and you'll notice that you'll get some deeper sleep. And I notice, I always slept pretty well before because I do a lot of these things that I talk about. so I haven't had much issues with it. But one thing I did notice when I started taking the sweet tea cherry juice is I started to fall asleep much quicker. Like I usually lay in bed for like a minute or two and I'm just out like instantly, like not even up for much longer than that. So I definitely feel it when I wake up in the middle of the night. I feel that sleepiness, and if I have to go to the bathroom or something, I wake up, go back to bed, I'll be out just like that again, right? So that can be very helpful. It can also, um, my wife actually stopped taking it because the sweet tart cherry juice, because it actually makes her feel much more tired in the middle of the night when she has to get up with our little one. So it can be a good thing, and it can also be a bad thing if you need to get up in the middle of the night and be more aware if like you're with a little one. So be careful with that, but you can always mess around with that. And you can find the sweet tart cherry juice. You want to make sure it's organic if you can. Remember, organic is usually the healthiest option. It has the most nutrients in it. It doesn't have as much. It doesn't have like that very harmful pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, all those ides, right? All those poisons essentially in them. So it's much better for you. So sweet tart cherry juice, and if you want a good source of it, you can always contact me. I actually have an online superfood store where one of these things I'm supplying is a sweet tart cherry juice. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll put my email down in the description below if you're interested in that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is caffeine. So on the other hand, you can drink things, that increase your melatonin production and help you get a good night's sleep. On the other hand, you can be drinking things that are going to counteract and make you be more awake and alert. And that is caffeine is one of the major offenders of that, right? So why does caffeine inhibit our sleep? Well, the way caffeine works is it actually increases our cortisol levels in our body, which activates the flight or flight response. So that is actually why we get that alert feeling. It doesn't actually provide energy. What's happening is your body is going on flight or flight response mode. So usually this would happen like if there's like a saber-toothed tiger, or there's like a giant gorilla, or a burglar, or something like that. Someone's trying to attack you. Something is trying to attack you. And you're literally in fear for your life. So your body moves all the blood, or the majority of your blood, to your arms and your legs. So you can either stand your ground and fight, or you could take run and flight. That's why it's called fight or flight, right? So that's what's happening when you drink that caffeine. Your body is literally going to this alert mode. And many people believe it's giving them this energy and helping them wake up, but it's really just putting them back into that flight or flight response system, which has been known to actually use your energy up. And that's why usually you feel tired after, right? Or you start to rely on it because you're burning yourself up. You're not actually replenishing your energy. You're just using it quicker. Now, caffeine can actually stay in your system for a long time. It has a long half-life. So if you're drinking it, and I recommend getting rid of it completely, but I know for some people, they just won't do that. So if you're going to drink it, if you insist on drinking it, make sure you drink it only in the mornings. Try to avoid it anywhere. I would say after 10 o'clock, but afternoon would be at least the hard cutoff point. I would recommend staying away from it. Even then, you might still have some in your system by the time you go to bed. But if you do it by like 10 a.m., you should have it out of your system, at least the majority, depending on how much you're consuming, right? Because if you're consuming a ton of it, then maybe not. But avoid that caffeine. And I used to be pretty bad about this. I used to drink energy drinks to actually stay at work. I used to work a late night shift in a taco cart. And I would drink multiple energy drinks so I could stay awake. Now, I was so tired by the time I got home, I'd pass out anyways. But it did bad things for my body. And it didn't actually give me a good night's sleep. And then let me go into that deep sleep I was talking about. So I'd still wake up tired anyways, right? And I was off the circadian rhythm. That's why it's so important. You follow the circadian rhythm. You do the things to make it so you can get a good night's sleep, and you don't sabotage yourself in those areas, right? The next thing that touches base on caffeine, I'm probably gonna do a whole podcast on caffeine because it can be pretty detrimental to us overall. But there's a great book on it by Stephen Cherninsky called Caffeine Blues that I highly recommend everyone read if you haven't read, because it goes over many studies. It goes into scientific terms. He does it from like the scientific point of view, which is most people won't be able to understand, and then he'll actually break it down to like the layman's terms where anyone could understand. So I found it very fascinating to read about. And you talked about, like who funds the caffeine research and all these things. So highly recommend you listen to that Caffeine Blues. So the next point that we can talk about how we're sabotaging ourselves when we are trying to get a good night's sleep and what we can do to get better sleep is eating right before bed. So this is a pretty common one where people eat way later than they should. Sometimes you just can't do it and you just eat it, the time you can. So, I work until 6:30 p.m., get home around 7 p.m., and then I make dinner for me and my wife. And usually food's ready around 7:30 or 8, and I eat then. If I had in my, if I was able to change that, I would eat probably around 6 or 7, because I usually go to bed around 10 p.m., 10:30. So if I can get to bed by that time, then that would be fantastic. But, I eat as early as I can so my body can digest as much as possible. But I avoid eating right before bed. And why is this important and how can this affect your sleep? Well, remember how I told you about how when you are sleeping, your body's using all that energy you can to be able to heal yourself and process all the information and do all that stuff that needs to be doing? Well, if you have food in your stomach, it has to take a lot of energy to actually be digesting that food. Because it takes a good amount of energy to actually digest our food. It has the muscles in your stomach moving to kind of churn it and break it down, and has enzymes, it has all this stuff going on. So when you're eating right before bed, it actually makes your body on more of an active mode. It's not able to conserve as much energy. It's not able to focus as much energy on the healing and the processing and the important parts of sleep that we need to do. The next step is talking about exercising before bed. So exercising in general is good, yes. But if it's right before bed, it's likely to get you more amped up, more awake, because that exercise, right, that's what happens. It alerts our body, it gets the blood pumping, it gets everything going. So if you're doing that right before bed, it can cause some mixed signals. I know some people that work out right before bed and they can still get what they say is a good night's sleep, and maybe so. But if you want to be able to get the best night's sleep, they did a study that talked about or looked at the three different times for working out and what produces the best night's sleep. There was the morning time, the afternoon, and the nighttime. Can you guess which one had the best night's sleep? If you said morning time, then you were right. And it's likely you probably did, because it makes most sense, right? You work out early in the morning, and then you get that workout. And the nice thing is, usually if you work out right in the morning, you can get that workout in before you go to work. You can get that workout in, before you start the day. Then you don't have any excuses of, oh, I'm too tired. Oh, I need to do something else, right? You just get it done and move on with your day. And you can even do something small. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to do anything like that. You can just do push-ups. You can do, if you don't ever work out much, you can do like 5 push-ups to start, and then start ramping it up. I would do like every other day to start. If you're not into working out, you do every other day, and that's totally fine. You want your body to be able to heal and rest. So many people overdo the workouts and the exercising, and they actually hold themselves back from actually making the progress they should be making because they're overdoing it. And then they burn themselves out and hurt themselves and all that kind of stuff. But that's a whole nother topic. And then the next one is going to bed late. So this is very common in our society. I know I used to be doing this. I used to stay up all night playing video games, smoking and drinking, and going to bed at like 4 in the morning, 2 in the morning, partying, doing all that stuff. And it really affected me. I didn't realize how much it did until I got off that schedule and I got back to my daytime schedule. And I started feeling I had way more energy. I was more clear throughout the day. I just felt better overall. So I think it's really important that you go to bed, I would say at least by 10:30 p.m. Go to bed by at least 10:30 p.m. and wake up by at least 8 a.m. If you're able to do that, then you're able to be more within line with the circadian rhythm. You'll start to notice some great benefits, and that will help you sleep. So, the things that we talked about for getting good night's sleep is avoiding those bright lights, right? For at least an hour or two before bed, avoiding caffeine, avoiding eating right before bed, avoiding exercising before bed, work out in the morning if you're able to. Avoid going to bed late. Go to bed at least by 10:30 p.m. if you're able to. Every once in a while, if you want to stay up late, you can, but you'll notice how much that affects you once you start getting into your good schedule, right? And that's actually a good way to just show yourself what you're doing is important. So the next thing I'll be talking about is ways we can use sleep to overcome self-sabotage. So this is a fun little one. So remember how I was talking about the subconscious mind, how it's recording everything and constantly collecting that data to determine what's safe or what's not? Well, this part of your subconscious mind is still listening while you're sleeping. So one way you could be sabotaging yourself while you're sleeping is if you have the television or something else playing while you're sleeping, and that thing has some bad messages in it. That show is, known for scandalous things like divorces and cheating on people and eating unhealthy food and partying all the time or whatever. Your subconscious mind is paying attention to that and is notating that as you're sleeping. And something to note when you're in that sleeping stage is that, at least when you're going into the sleeping stage, your mind is passing through different brain waves to get to the delta deep sleep brain waves that it has. And one of the brain waves it will go through is alpha or theta. Now, the theta brain wave is known for hypnosis. So when you go into a deep hypnotic trance, that is the theta brain state. This brain state is also taken on by little kids between the ages of 2 and 7. The reason why they have this brain state is that their brains are constantly trying to fit in with society. So that's why kids can learn so quick, because they're in that hypnosis-like state. So they are constantly learning, picking up new things, creating what I like to call programs for their subconscious mind to run in the future. So when you're going to bed or waking up, your brain is actually passing through that state, and you are able to program yourself, which will make things much quicker if you're trying to, address limiting beliefs or change your thinking patterns or change the programs you have in your subconscious mind. That can happen much quicker. Instead of just using repetition, you can use the hypnotic state to be able to do that. So what do I recommend to do this? Well, you can listen to positive podcasts while you go to bed. Make sure they have good messages in them. Or you could, what I like to do personally is listen to, well, there's two things I listen to. There's one that are hypnosis tracks, where someone goes on, leads you into a hypnotic trance, which usually just helps you sleep anyways. And then they say, usually depending on the hypnosis track, there's ones talking about like increasing your relationships, making better relationships. There's ones talking about increasing your health and getting better health. And there's people like Marissa Peer, who's one of the top hypnotherapists in the world. She has some great hypnosis tracks you can get. There's a lot of free ones on the internet. Just want to make sure you listen to them once. Make sure there's nothing bad in them, so you're not programming yourself the wrong way. And yeah, just those are very helpful, and you can listen to those even without going to bed. And then what you can also do is create affirmations and then record them and listen to them as you're going to bed and as you're waking up. So what are affirmations? Affirmations are essentially just words or phrases that you use to tell yourself good things, or things that you want in life, or things that you are moving forward to. So examples of affirmations, you would say, I am extremely strong and muscular and lean. And you want to use like descriptive words, like I was extremely muscular, lean. It paints a picture for your subconscious mind that you can pop into your head. You want to avoid saying negatives. And I made a whole video about affirmations. So actually, I'll just link that to you guys so you guys can take a look at it if you want to create your own affirmations, because there's a lot of information you that I could go over. It's like at least probably 20 minutes worth of information about affirmations. So it's probably best you guys just watch that video if you're interested in create your own affirmations. And I highly recommend doing it if you want to be able to start addressing some self-sabotage, because a lot of self-sabotage comes from when our subconscious is holding one thing as like a safe thing to do, right? Maybe eating unhealthy is the safe thing it's seen as doing, and you're trying to eat healthy. So your conscious mind has a goal of eating healthy. Your subconscious mind has a goal of eating unhealthy. So what happens and where self-sabotage comes into play is you try to start eating healthy and your subconscious mind's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And you hit this wall, which is your subconscious mind that says, no, 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 we're not going to be eating healthy. We're in the unhealthy eating tribe. We're in the unhealthy eating society. We need to stay here so we're most safe. So it'll start to send you urges. It'll start to send you cravings. You might get pictures of the treat or whatever in your head. You might, start getting weird feelings. It's your subconscious mind is able to influence you in that way. Or you might get certain thoughts like popped in your head, right? So this is your subconscious mind saying, hey, come on back. We don't want to go to the healthy eating tribe. We're going to piss off our tribe members, and we don't want to be outcasts from society. We want to be safe just as we are, because it's the most familiar thing we know and everyone else is doing it. So we might as well do it too, right? This is what your subconscious mind works. So if you want to be able to reprogram your subconscious mind, which is really important, so that way your conscious mind and your subconscious mind can work together towards the thing that you want. So they both have the goals of eating healthy. Then you need to start to do things to reprogram it. One way is the affirmations, and a way that can be quicker than just doing affirmations every single day. That is important to still continue doing, because repetition is key, familiarity is key, is to actually, record those and listen to those as you go to bed, as you're waking up, and when you're in the car, things like that, right? So the next thing that you can do to use sleep to overcome self-sabotage is just getting some good sleep. If you're always tired all the time, it's more likely you're going to be sabotaging yourself. Because let's say you want to start working out, but you're always tired. You're not going to be able to get that good night's sleep, right? Or not going to be able to work out like you want to. Or maybe you'll say, I'm too tired, I'm not going to work out. It will become an excuse for you. So if you get a good night's sleep, you'll have the energy, you'll have more motivation, you'll be able to start doing things. So it's very important. This is a very important part of overcoming self-sabotage, It's overcoming self-sabotage is just not one specific area, then all of a sudden you're done. It's usually a whole array of things in your life that you need to address, because it's just everything is connected. So what we sleep is connected to what we want to do in life, where we're sleeping, what our energy is, usually what we're eating, things like that. And those things are all connected with other things. So you need to look at everything holistically, which means big picture, everything, how everything affects everything else. And so that's why I touch on so many different things in my podcast, because there is a lot to touch on with self-sabotage. Something that you'll find is a universal part of overcoming self-sabotage is the subconscious mind, reprogramming it, addressing what our influences are in our life, changing our thinking patterns, those sorts of things. But it's also, just changing what we're doing to our bodies and how we're treating our bodies. And part of treating your body correctly and like you would like a friend is getting enough sleep. So treat yourself well, treat yourself like you would a friend. Make sure you're set up for success. Don't leave yourself with no energy for the next day. I used to do that all the time when I had school and when I was in college. I would just stay up partying all night. The next morning I'd be so tired, I'd be falling asleep in class, right? That was self-sabotage, right? But it happens all the time. People are extremely tired at work and then they have to drink multiple coffees and they're still way out of it and they make all these mistakes, right? So getting that sleep is so important. Getting that sleep is so, so important. Start reprogramming yourself while you're sleeping with those affirmations and the recordings. And, do what you can to get a good night's sleep. Avoid sabotaging yourself with bright lights, with caffeine, with eating right before bed, with exercising before bed, and with going to bed late. Look at getting at least the 8 hours of deep sleep. If you wake up still tired, sometimes you didn't get enough sleep, or sometimes you maybe got too much sleep. Look at how much sleep you actually got, and you can determine from that. And then maybe it's also your body's just experiencing burnout. You push yourself too hard and you need more rest, or that you've just been drinking caffeine and you're becoming reliant on it. So look at that. Try to follow the circadian rhythm. Wake up with the sun and go to bed with the sun. Anyways, I hope you guys all learned some good information from this podcast or from this episode of the podcast. And if you guys do have any questions, please reach out to me directly. I would love to talk to you about any of this information. Or if you want to work with me directly one-on-one, or even just see what that would look like, I offer free strategy calls, so we can hop on a Zoom call about 45 minutes and then just chat about what you're needing help with in life. I can tell you about some solutions, and there's no offer, or there's no requirement to sign up with me. You can just talk with me and kind of learn a little bit more. And, we can connect a little bit. So I highly recommend you guys reach out to me. And I'll also put my email down below if you want to contact me about, looking at the cherry juice or any of the other organic superfood products that I offer. There's so many amazing products that can help you set yourself up for success and help detox, some glyphosate or other harmful ingredients out of your body. So please contact me if you are interested in that. I very much look forward to hearing from you guys. I'll put the link to the affirmations video down below so you guys can have that as well. Actually, I'll just should be appearing up in either the right or left corner here pretty soon so you guys can click on it right after here. So I'll make sure that is the video that's linked. And then give this video a subscribe, give it a like, share it with other people. It so much helps me when you guys subscribe, when you like, when you give me comments, because it boosts the algorithm for YouTube or for the podcast website, or even just for Rumble. All of that helps me get my more viewership, helps more people in the world. And that's my main goal, is to help as many people as possible. So thank you so much for listening. Remember, we can all overcome self-sabotage. And today's the day to start. Have a great day, guys.